The wealthy rancher feigned sleep to test the poor widow. What she did left him speechless. Continued. The following morning, John Blackthorne rose before dawn, as he always did. He saddled his roan gelding and rode the fence line, but his mind wasn't on broken rails or straying cattle. It was on the image of Clara kneeling by the fire, her lips brushing his hand like he was worth something more than land and cattle. By the time he returned, the eastern sky was bright with streaks of rose and gold. He found the widow already awake, apron tied snug, sleeves rolled, humming low as she baked biscuits. Her little boy sat at the table, swinging his legs, hair tousled, clutching a tin cup of milk. John paused in the doorway. The smell of baking bread hit him, but it was the sound, her humming, that struck him harder. For 3 years since his own wife had passed in childbirth, the house had been silent. Hired cooks had come and gone, leaving food but no warmth. Clara, with her worn hands and shy eyes, had brought music back. She turned and noticed him. A flush crept up her cheeks. "Mr. Blackthorne, you've been out early." He nodded, pulling off his gloves. "Fence don't mend itself." She smiled faintly and set the biscuits to cool. "Sit. You'll want coffee." He did as she asked, but all the while his thoughts gnawed at him. He wanted to tell her he hadn't been asleep last night. He wanted to thank her. But words had always been harder for him than deeds. And besides, what if she felt betrayed, knowing he had spied on her? So he held his tongue. For now. That day stretched long. The sun blazed hot, men grumbled about watering holes running low, and dust rose in clouds. But through it all, John caught himself thinking of Clara. He thought of the way her hands had smoothed the blanket, the way she had whispered prayers for him. He thought of the kiss on his hand, soft as a feather. By evening, he was restless. After supper, when the men had gone, he found Clara out back, hanging laundry in the cooling twilight. The boy chased grasshoppers nearby. "You work too hard," John said gruffly, approaching. Clara looked up, startled. "Work's all I know, Mr. Blackthorne. Idleness never put food on the table." He shifted, unsure how to say what weighed on him. "Still, you've earned a rest now and again." She gave a small laugh, though it carried no bitterness. "Widows don't rest, sir. We just keep on, till the Lord calls us home." Her words tugged at him, but before he could reply, little Samuel darted over, holding up a captured grasshopper like it was gold. Clara smiled, ruffled the boy's hair, and in that moment John felt something inside him shift. He realized then that the test he had set the night before hadn't revealed just honesty. It had revealed character, the kind a man could lean on when storms rolled in. That night, once again, John pretended to sleep in the parlor. He told himself he only wanted to see if last night's kindness had been chance. But deep down he knew he craved proof that it was real. Sure enough, Clara came softly after Samuel had been put to bed. She banked the fire, tidied the room, and paused at his side. This time, she didn't whisper prayers. She simply looked at him, long and steady, as if searching his face for the man beneath the name and wealth. Then, with a small sigh, she tucked the blanket around his shoulders again. "Don't carry it all alone," she murmured, barely audible. "No man's meant to." Then she left. John opened his eyes to the empty room and pressed a hand to his chest, where her words had landed like an arrow. No man's meant to carry it all alone. Lord, if that wasn't the truest thing he'd heard in years. The following days, John wrestled with himself. He wanted Clara to know what she had done for him, how her small gestures had stripped the loneliness from his bones. But fear gnawed at him too. Fear that she would recoil if she knew he'd been watching, testing. Finally, one Sunday afternoon, the matter came to a head. The ranch hands had gone into town for a drink. Samuel napped in his small bed. Clara sat on the porch, mending one of John's shirts with neat, careful stitches. John stepped out, hat in hand, and stood before her. "Clara," he began, his voice rougher than he meant. She looked up, eyes wide, expectant. "There's something I need to tell you." He swallowed. Those nights, you thought I was asleep by the fire. I wasn't." Her needle paused midair. Silence stretched. Then, slowly, she set the shirt aside. "You heard me," she said softly. He nodded once. Every word. Every prayer. Her face flushed crimson, and she rose quickly. "I never meant. I shouldn't have." "Don't." He stepped forward, catching her hand before she could retreat. "Don't you dare apologize. You gave me more in those words than I've had in years." She froze, staring at him. His grip was gentle but firm, calloused hand over her slender one. "I needed to know," he said, voice low. "Needed to know if you were here for what I own, or if you saw the man beneath. You showed me, Clara. You showed me more than I deserved." Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "I only spoke the truth, Mr. Blackthorne. You've been kind. And I wanted to thank you, even if you never heard." He drew a deep breath, the weight of years lifting from his chest. "Then let me speak my truth. Since you stepped into this house, you've turned it from stone to flesh again. I've watched you mend not just shirts, but a life that was coming apart at the seams." Her lips parted, trembling. "Sir." "Call me John," he said softly. A silence fell, thick with unspoken things. The prairie wind stirred her hair. Somewhere a meadowlark trilled. Finally, Clara whispered, "John, what are you saying?" He looked at her, really looked, at the widow who had lost so much yet still gave kindness freely. "I'm saying I don't want to spend another night pretending to be asleep, just to hear what's in your heart. I want to hear it with my eyes open, sitting beside you. Always." Her breath caught. For a moment she seemed torn, but then Samuel's sleepy voice called from inside, "Mama!" Clara blinked, tears spilling at last. She pressed John's hand, then pulled away to tend to her boy. But before she went inside, she glanced back. And in that glance was an answer, not in words, but in the soft, steady warmth of her gaze. The days that followed were different. Clara moved about the house with a new lightness, and John, though still stern with his men, found himself smiling more often. In the evenings, he no longer feigned sleep. Instead, he sat with her by the fire, listening as she read scripture aloud, or watching as she sewed while Samuel played with carved wooden horses at their feet. And though no promises had yet been spoken, the silence between them had changed. It was no longer empty. It was expectant, alive, full of things yet to come. John Blackthorne, the wealthy rancher who had tested the poor widow, had indeed found himself speechless. But not from surprise alone. From hope that after years of carrying the world alone, he might finally have someone willing to carry it beside him.